I served in the Marines from 2007 to 2015. My last year, I was posted to a remote listening station in Alaska as part of a classified comms support program. Officially, we monitored satellite signals and relays. Unofficially, we were told never to discuss what we heard. The station was a squat, ugly building nestled in a frozen valley 2 hours from anything. It operated 24/7, rotating shifts of 3 personnel at a time. I was assigned to night duty with 2 other guys, Marcus and Hill. From day 1, the place felt off. There's a kind of silence up there that doesn't exist anywhere else. No birds, no animals, no wind unless there's a storm. Just white snow, black trees, and a sky so big it feels wrong. The first weird thing happened a week in. We picked up a signal. Not unusual. We got strange audio bursts all the time. Most of it was noise, solar flares, encrypted data, sometimes a strayed broadcast bouncing off the atmosphere. But this one was different. It was a repeating pattern, slow, rhythmic, almost like Morse code. But not quite. It looped every 17 seconds. Same exact pitch, same tone. And it wasn't coming from space. It was coming from beneath us. That night, Marcus tried triangulating it. Said it originated somewhere near the glacier ridge just west of the station, completely inaccessible by vehicle. Hill thought it was a malfunction. I wasn't so sure. The next night we heard it again, stronger, clearer. This time, it wasn't just tones. There were words, whispers. Male and female voices, overlapping, layered, like dozens of people speaking at once. I couldn't understand the language. It wasn't English, Russian, or anything I'd heard before. Hill started recording it, but every time we played it back, the audio corrupted. I tried to report it to our regional HQ. The response was brief. Ignore. Do not engage. That was it. A few nights later, Hill went outside for a smoke and didn't come back. We found him 2 hours later, standing barefoot in the snow, half a mile from the building facing the mountains. Eyes wide, lips moving, like he was talking to someone, but there was no one there. We got him inside. He was hypothermic and barely responsive. When he finally spoke, all he said was, "They're under us," over and over, until they medevaced him out the next morning. He never came back. Marcus and I pulled double shifts for 3 more nights. And then, on the 4th night, I woke up in the comm room. I'd fallen asleep in my chair during the graveyard shift, but the monitors were on. The signal, clearer than ever, was playing. But this time, it was English, and it was my voice. Saying things I'd never said or thought. Let us in. The ice is thin. The ground remembers. I shut everything off, pulled the cables. I sat there for hours in the dark until morning. I told command I wanted out. They didn't argue. Didn't ask why. Just rotated me out 2 days later. Marcus stayed. He was always the quiet one, didn't seem scared, but 2 months after I left, I got a message. He was gone. Vanished from the station during a storm. No signs of struggle, just his boots left by the exit door. No prints in the snow. The station is still active as far as I know, but the signal never stopped. Sometimes late at night, I tune my ham radio and sweep through frequencies, and just once, I heard it again. My own voice. Let us in. The ice is thin. The ground remembers. I was stationed at an outpost in eastern Afghanistan back in 2014. I worked as a mechanic on base, mostly fixing up Humvees and MRAPs that came back beat to hell after patrols. I wasn't a combat guy. Didn't see firefights or kick down doors. My world was bolts, engines, and busted suspensions. Our outpost was built around an old Soviet hangar, massive, crumbling, made of rusted corrugated steel that had turned orange with time. The thing had survived decades of war, but it always felt like it was wrong, like it shouldn't still be standing. The locals called it Zaria, Rough translation: the forgotten one. At first, I thought it was just superstition. Locals have stories for everything out here, but it wasn't just them. Even our Afghan army partners avoided it, said it was haram. They'd patrol with us, share meals, but wouldn't take 2 steps inside that hangar. I started noticing weird stuff about a month into deployment. First, it was tools going missing. Not stolen, just gone. I'd put a wrench set down on a bench, walk to grab something, come back, gone. Then it'd show up the next day, placed neatly in the same spot. No one admitted to moving anything. No one was playing pranks. One night, I stayed late fixing up a convoy truck. It was just me and the wind. Around 0200, the power cut out for maybe 30 seconds. No big deal, happens all the time. But when the lights came back on, someone had written something in the dust on the Humvee hood. "He walks here still." I froze. It wasn't there before. I'd been wiping that thing down all night. The message was written in English, in letters so straight they looked printed. I grabbed my stuff and got out of there. The next day, I asked around. A few of the older guys looked uncomfortable. One guy, Staff Sergeant Gomez, pulled me aside and said, "Don't stay late in the hangar, not alone, not after midnight." I asked why. He didn't answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the message, so, like an idiot, I went back. Around 1 a.m., I unlocked the hangar and went inside with a flashlight. It was dead silent, like the world outside didn't exist anymore. I walked past the tool racks, the workbenches, over to where the message had been. It was gone, but something else was there. On the floor, drawn in oil or grease, was a pair of boot prints. Soviet issue, the kind with the thick heel and old sole pattern, leading away into the dark part of the hangar. I followed them. My flashlight flickered as I got deeper into the shadows. The air got cold, like weirdly cold. Afghanistan nights can get chilly, sure, but this was freezing. My breath came out in clouds. And then I saw it. A man, standing in the far corner, facing the wall. Tall, in an old Soviet uniform. I thought maybe it was a dummy or a statue, some leftover thing from the 80s. Until it moved, just slightly, a tilt of the head. I backed away, tried not to blink. My flashlight flickered again. When it came back on, he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just gone. I bolted out, didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I asked the base translator if he knew anything. He looked nervous. Said that during the Soviet occupation, the hangar was used as a field hospital and execution site. Locals say one officer went mad, killed his own men, locked them inside during a shelling and walked out unharmed. He was never found, just disappeared. They say he still walks inside, looking for his men. I tried to laugh it off, but it stuck with me. A week later, my buddy Spence had a breakdown. He'd been pulling solo repair duty in the hangar at night, found him curled under his bunk, shaking. He said he saw his own face looking back at him in the mirror, but smiling when he wasn't. Said the man in the Soviet uniform whispered in his voice. They sent Spence home. The hangar got locked after that. Officially, it was due to structural safety concerns, but everyone knew. We just didn't talk about it. I finished that deployment without going back in. But sometimes, when I'm under a car alone in my shop back home and the lights flicker, I still hear boots on concrete, and I remember that hangar. I served 2 deployments with the U.S. Army, one in Afghanistan and another in an undisclosed region in Central Africa. I can't go into too many specifics about where exactly, but this happened during that second deployment, sometime in late 2017. Our unit had been sent into a dense jungle region to assist with a small humanitarian mission. Nothing too intense, just helping secure an abandoned research outpost and provide support for some civilian personnel doing environmental surveys. The compound was deep in the bush, no roads in or out. Supplies came in by chopper, no cell signal. The canopy was so thick you could barely see the sky in the daytime. It was claustrophobic and humid as hell. There were 9 of us in the security team, including myself. We were supposed to be there for 2 weeks. It lasted 4 days. Because something out there was watching us. The compound itself was like something out of an old Cold War movie. Rusted gates, cracked cement towers, satellite dishes broken in half. The locals avoided the place. We didn't speak their dialect, but one guy from the civilian team told us they called it the place that watches. Didn't make sense to us at first. The first day went smooth. We set up perimeter motion sensors, secured the inner buildings, and established rotating watches. The forest around us was eerily quiet. I've done jungle work before, and there's always some ambient noise. Bugs, birds, monkeys. But here, it was like the trees were holding their breath. That night, during my shift from 0100 to 0300, I was positioned on the west side tower. No movement, but I kept hearing what sounded like twigs snapping out past the tree line. Never close enough to see anything, just enough to keep me alert. Every time I'd shine my light, silence. The next morning, I asked the others if they'd noticed anything weird. My buddy Quinn said, "Yeah, man, I saw someone in the trees last night." I laughed. Thought he was joking, but he wasn't. I'm serious, looked like a guy standing up on one of the branches, but tall, way too tall. And I mean like 20 feet up, just standing there. I told him maybe it was a monkey or something, but the look in his eyes told me he knew what he saw. Day 2, everything went sideways. Around noon, 2 of the civilian guys went missing. They'd gone to inspect some solar panels we found near the southern clearing, only a few hundred meters from the compound. They had radios. They were supposed to check in every 10 minutes. At 12:37 p.m., both radios went dead. We launched a full search. No blood, no tracks. Just their gear, backpacks, and 1 water bottle sitting neatly in a line by the tree line, like someone had placed them there. We reported it up the chain, but response would take time due to terrain. That night, more motion sensors went off. We ran full sweeps, no animals, no sign of anything. And then, one of the outer floodlights started flickering, just one. Quinn and I were posted near the gate when we saw it. Something, tall, lean, and silent, moved between 2 trees in the clearing. Just one fluid motion, like a shadow shifting. We radioed it in. Full lockdown was called. That's when the whispering started. I know how that sounds, but I'm telling you the truth. Around 2 a.m., all of us heard it. Coming from outside the wire. Faint, almost like a recording of voices being played backward. It made my skin crawl. Then the lights cut out completely. We held our positions until dawn. When daylight came, we discovered something disturbing. On the west side fence, where one of the cameras had been installed, we found deep gouges in the wood of the post. Claw marks, like something with 3 fingers had dug into the surface. Each gouge was at least half an inch deep. By the morning of day 3, morale was crumbling. The civilians were demanding evacuation. Our comms were now intermittently failing. It felt like something was interfering. At one point, even our internal headsets started picking up static and clicks. That afternoon, Sergeant Loomis, the most level-headed guy in our unit, went missing. He'd been inside the communications shack, writing a report. 1 second he was there, the next, gone. No sign of struggle, but the chair was still spinning when we got there. We initiated an emergency extraction. Toppers were 2 hours out. That last night was the worst. We doubled our watch rotations. Quinn and I took up the eastern tower. Fog had rolled in thick. We could barely see 10 feet past the compound wall. Around 1:43 a.m., a sensor triggered at the north gate. They know sensors self-crisking and then another at the southern fence. Then another. Then they all went offline. We locked and loaded. Thermal scopes picked up nothing, but then something moved past the fog. Between the trees, a tall figure impossibly thin, long arms trailing behind it. It wasn't walking, it was gliding, and wherever it passed, the fog thinned, like it parted for it. And then we saw them. The missing civilians. Lumas, all standing in a line at the edge of the forest, perfectly still. But there was something off. Their heads were tilted at impossible angles, and they weren't blinking, just staring. I yelled out. They didn't respond. Suddenly, the floodlights flicked back on, and they were gone. I didn't ask questions. I didn't file the full report. I just left. A few weeks later, I checked in with one of the surviving civilians. He'd resigned from the program, said he'd started seeing things outside his window at night, said he didn't sleep anymore. Last I heard, he'd moved off-grid. As for me, I never spoke about that deployment again, until now. I don't know what we encountered out there, but I don't think it was human. And I'm not sure it was tied to that place or something we brought back with us. Because sometimes, when I close my eyes at night, I still hear the whispering. And once, just once, I saw someone standing in the tree line outside my backyard,